Welcome to Mr. Medica. I'm your host, Luna. Today I'm going to talk about the history and meaning of toxicology. The term toxicology is derived from the two ancient Greek words toxikos and logos, meaning knowledge concerning poisons. It can also be defined as the branch of science that deals with poisons, and a poison can be any substance that causes a harmful effect when administered to a living organism. However, a compound can be toxic to one species or genetic strain, but relatively harmless to another. For example, some of the sponges and small animals that hawksbill turtles consume are toxic, but nothing happens to the turtles. Their body fat absorbs the toxins without making the turtles ill, but their meat is potentially poisonous to humans. Scientists refer to that as chilonitoxism. The symptoms of chilonitoxism include nausea, vomiting, dysphagia, and abdominal pain. It was reported that on the Pacific island of Murillo, 6 people have died and more than 90 others were taken seriously ill after attending a feast of hawksbill turtle. Perhaps the history of toxicology is as old as the history of mankind, since people needed to know which fruits, plants, or animals must be avoided from the very beginning. Since it is almost impossible to mention all the toxicity-related discoveries or events, I'll go through some of the mentionable ones. Ebers papyrus are probably the most ancient records of poisons. These Egyptian records contained 110 pages on anatomy, physiology, toxicology, spells, and treatments. Mithridates 6. The king of Pontus in Asia Minor was afraid of being poisoned since his childhood. He wanted to get immunity so that no poison could kill him. For that reason, he tested antidotes of poisons on himself and used prisoners as guinea pigs. The term Mithridatic, meaning tolerance or immunity to a poison acquired by taking gradually larger doses of it, came from his name. L. Cornelia Sulla. He was the Roman general and leader who made a law that stated it is illegal for people, including prisoners, to be poisoned, and also prohibited buying, selling, or possessing poisons. Cleopatra. This Egyptian queen was famous for her beauty and her sadistic nature. She experimented with strychnine and other poisons on prisoners and the poor. In the end, she committed suicide by the bite of a snake called the Egyptian asp. Bernardino Ramazzini. This Italian physician was one of the first to make the link between worker occupation and health, which he documented in his book De Morbis Artificum Diatriba, meaning diseases of workers. Julia Tofana. She was the inventor of the famous poison Aqua Tofana, which is named after her. It contained mostly arsenic and lead and possibly belladonna. It was a colorless, tasteless liquid that was loved by Tofana's main customers, wives who wanted to kill their husbands. Later, Tofana was executed for her actions. Matthew Orfila. He clearly identified toxicology as a separate science, and in 1815 published the first book devoted exclusively to toxicology. Edward Jukes and F. Bush. In 1822, Edward Jukes and F. Bush simultaneously invented gastric lavage. It is the process of cleaning out the contents of the stomach and has been used for over 200 years as a means of eliminating poisons from the stomach. Jean Stas. In 1850, Jean Stas became the first person to successfully isolate plant poisons from human tissue. Thus, he was able to provide evidence against a Belgian count who killed his brother-in-law to gain some money. This was the first exact proof of alkaloids in forensic medicine. German chemist Fritz Haber. He developed chlorine and cyanide gases, which were used as blistering agents in World War I. FDA, Food and Drug Administration. This agency was established to regulate the content and safety of consumer drugs and food. Minamata disease or dancing cat fever. Minamata disease was first discovered in Minamata City of Japan in 1956. It was caused by the release of methyl mercury in the industrial wastewater from the Shisho Corporation's chemical factory, which continued from 1932 to 1968. This highly toxic chemical then bioaccumulated in shellfish and fish and was consumed by the local people. Mercury poisoning went on for 36 years. Animals and more than 1,000 people died of severe neurological disorders caused by it. The London Great Smog. The winter of 1952 in London was full of tragic deaths. Due to the cold weather, Londoners were burning more coal than usual to keep warm. Those low-grade domestic coal increased the amount of sulfur dioxide in the smoke. There were also many coal-fired power stations nearby, which contributed to the pollution. The air was full of tons and tons of hydrochloric acid, fluorine compounds, and sulfur dioxide, which converted into sulfuric acid. This tragic incident took about 12,000 people's lives. Poison Control Centers. A poison control center is a medical facility that is able to provide immediate, free, and expert treatment advice and assistance over the telephone in case of exposure to poisonous or hazardous substances. The first center was opened in Chicago in 1953. Thalidomide tragedy. Thalidomide is a drug which used to be prescribed to pregnant women to treat symptoms of morning sickness and also as a sedative. But the adverse effect of this drug caused severe birth defects in an estimated 10,000 children. This tragedy was a big lesson on how much we should focus on the drug safety regulation. Rachel Carson. She was the scientist who emphasized on a clean, pollution-free environment. She was against the use of dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane, DDT, a pesticide and persistent environment contaminant. Carson wrote several books, including Silent Spring, published in 1962. Lake Nyos disaster. The Lake Nyos disaster occurred on 21st August in 1986 when a limnic eruption at Lake Nyos in northwestern Cameroon produced a large cloud of carbon dioxide. Being about 1.5 times denser than air, carbon dioxide caused the cloud to descend onto nearby villages, killing 1,700 people and 3,500 livestock by suffocating. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Until next time, take care.